Good evening, Denise.
Hello, Ginger. How are you doing? So good to
Good.
see you.
You too. Man, we decided that maybe the evening is the best time to do this.
It is true. Evenings are good.
So you can sort of see the sun still up here in Kansas City. We've still got light, and it's 6:38 in the evening. So we got more sunshine now.
Hey, we all need some sunshine, some vitamin D.
I know. You know what it makes me think about?
What?
So, we bought a new camper.
Yes. I can't wait to crash it.
We could we could have a big conference inside this thing. It's
Maybe we should. We should have a lot of small group sessions for,
yeah.
brainstorming.
I've told my two granddaughters they could have a dance-a-thon inside, but we're really excited about taking it out on its first voyage in a couple weeks. And this weather just makes me, despite the freezing weather, I'm ready for spring.
Yes.
Go fly
I was
fishing.
ready a week ago when it was here, and then it
Yeah,
it lied to us.
surprised all of us, didn't it?
Yes.
All right. Well, I decided because we've been having a lot of people reach out with questions about job offers that maybe you and I just need to get down to the nitty gritty and talk
Okay.
about the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I often say. And so, you know what I decided to do today?
You're gonna tell me.
I decided to look at, just type in the word midwife job and look at what search engines popped up. And I will
Mm,
say that they are prolific,
okay.
of all kinds of options like LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor, and there are even some health management ones. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try in our PhD minds random selection of a job offer. And I just took it, and we've done enough contract reviews now. We've seen just about everything, and we've actually seen this one quite a few times, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with it.
All right.
So Denise, I'm going to give you a job offer that
Okay.
came out today, and then we're going to talk about it.
All right.
So I'm going to have to change my glasses because the glasses I have now are from my computer, and I need to do some better examination here to read it to you. Okay, so Denise, this is for a full-time CNM job. I'm just going to say in the South. I'm not going to give you the state. I don't. We want to be careful here.
Okay.
You could potentially work at two different office locations.
Okay.
Deliveries performed at one hospital with a level 2 NICU.
Okay.
And the job is 4 days in the office a week with one night call per week.
Mm. Okay.
You're going to see about a 50-50 blend of OB and GYN patients.
Okay.
You're also going to be on call one weekend per month
Okay.
and see about 20 patients a day.
Okay.
And I am going to offer you $120,000
Mm.
with some CME and reimbursement. Oh, but there's benefits too. Come on, there's
Oh,
health,
benefits? Okay,
dental,
good.
vision, some kind of matching,
Okay.
a company paid malpractice insurance,
Oh, that sounds good.
and a supportive, appreciative culture.
Oh, I wonder what that looks like.
Now
Hmm.
I'm gonna put my other
Okay.
glasses
Uh,
on
Okay.
and just say
125. 'I've never
120.
made that.
No, 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 120.
Okay, I heard 120.
Denise.
Darn it. Okay, it's
So,
getting.
hey sister, are you gonna look at this job?
Well, I haven't. Let's see. Well, I've been currently working as a nurse. So I wonder what 120. I'm gonna have to do some exploring to figure
Yeah.
out more about this job. Now, the supportive, appreciative culture, for them to mention that, that sounds really nice. I wonder what
Yeah.
that looks like. But
Yeah, it's kind of different.
well, now that I am a little bit more cynical than I used to be, so I definitely would have to explore each of these options.
Well, let me tell you
Okay.
the math I did. And this
Okay.
is a little bit of a logic tree into what we're going to talk about today, which is
Okay.
how do you really analyze an offer and how do you think about the different things that they might put in an ad versus what you might want to talk about
Mm,
to for them to verify, right? Or clarify.
okay.
So
Right.
let you know what I do, Denise. I always say, and look, I don't practice anymore, but I sure would never do an 8 hour patient facing day and be done at 8 hours.
It's not possible.
Okay, so I usually add 1 hour. So
For
if you're in
sure.
the office 4 days, 8 hour days, I made that 36.
Okay.
And a one night call per week. And I'm just going to guess and say that's 12.
It could be 12, but it
Could be
also
more.
could be like 5 p.m. till the next day, 7 or 8 a.m. We don't know what that
Yeah,
actually means.
we don't really know what it is, but
That would be something to clarify.
I will just say I gave it 12, which equals
Okay.
48 hours.
Okay. 48 hours a
And
week.
1 week into month, which I did 48 divided by 4, which would be an additional 12 hours per week,
Okay.
which
So,
makes it on average, not every week, but on average, you would be working a 60-hour work week.
right. Okay.
So I went to the salary hourly calculator, my favorite device, to
Mm,
look up on the internet, and I put in $120,000 for a 60-hour work week. And do you know what that
it's
hourly salary is?
not going to be great. Oh,
$38.46.
you're not, you're hurting me here. You're
$38.
hurting me.
Okay, there we go. That's my math.
Okay. Okay. So that's work hours. Will there be, I wonder, there are things that aren't really being discussed here, such as like meetings,
Yeah.
you know, any expectation for committee work, any grand
Extra
rounds of
coverage.
M&M. What happens like if there's a person at the job that can't do these, are they going to keep the office open? Are they canceling those clinic days? Will there be expectation to pick up more?
So
Hmm.
before we get into these kinds of details, let's just talk about this as new news.
Okay.
This is a very common offer.
Yes, it is.
And when folks are out there looking for jobs, do you have any advice for maybe how to sift through? If I know it depends, right? If they can move, if they can't. But if they're trying to sift through job offers, what would you say?
Well, I do think the questions of, if they can move is a big one. So I think you first have to look for really what you want in a job. Like what scope of
Yeah.
practice do you want to actually do? Do you want to do full scope? Do you want to do work in a clinic and work in hospital and or a birth center? Like, are you finding the type of job that is good for your soul, for what you're looking for, the type of practice? So that's kind of number one, and in my mind. And then the second one is like, how do you want that to look? How does that work with your life, your family, your other commitments?
Yeah.
And by that, I'm really looking at many things. I'm looking at like hours that you're going to be committed to this job. I'm looking at, you know, salary, of course,
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
other fringe benefits, which shouldn't necessarily be fringe, but things such as, loan repayment or
Yeah.
even CME. Are you going to be able to, have some help with CME reimbursement and all the other benefits and the malpractice? So, it's not a one liner or a two liner. It's just
Yeah.
so many things to consider. But I think the first thing is, are you going to be working at a job that is going to feed your soul?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And so maybe let's just set aside the work hours and the salary for now and
Yeah.
talk for a minute about how might you find that out? And we've had some guests on here talking about networking. I think Emily Portis talked about that a little
She
bit,
did.
getting connected. Other things I often suggest is like look at their website. What's the
Yes.
mission, vision, and values? What does a staff dynamic look like in the women's division? How many docs? How many midwives? How many NPs? Uh,
What services are they providing?
exactly.
Like Are they doing, very basic? Are they doing a lot of different specialty procedures or have different specialty
Yeah.
clinics or focus like that?
What's the ratio of doctors to midwives? I've seen some where there's one doctor and seven midwives, and I have
Mhm.
seen six doctors and six midwives. The configuration of the types of providers, are they
Right.
MFMs? Are they CPMs? What does it look like in terms of the types of providers you'll be working with?
So many things, yeah, to really consider. So you did talk about really like looking at social media sites as
Yeah,
well that might
yeah.
discuss, how the care is provided. And again, it goes back to what, but also how and patient satisfaction. And eventually you're going to get the mood for the provider
Oh,
satisfaction as
yeah.
well.
One of the things I do, Denise, when I'm coaching sometimes, if something, I don't do it all the time, but if I get the hint of uncertainty, I'll go look in Yelp or I'll go look
Mm,
on social media and type in the organization and see what the reviews are.
sure.
They
I
may be
mean,
commenting. I mean, it's amazing how people are brutally honest.
and they're usually brutally honest when the care isn't great, right?
Yeah, right. That's absolutely right.
But you do want to know about those. Like you can assume that the care is always good or the environment is always good, but you're going to get the true flavor when you do delve into these
Yeah.
reviews sometimes. So that's a great idea.
So, one of the things I think is important is before you even think about some of these details we led this conversation with, is how much homework have you done about what you're walking into? Like, do you look more into purchasing a home in the community that the school's in, or the kind of car and the service agreement that you're going to get, than your job?
Right. I mean, it makes me think immediately about the people that you're dating,
Yeah,
also. Like, I
yeah,
mean, sometimes you just date someone because it seems right or there's this chemistry, but you're not always going to know what the chemistry is for the job. And I don't know about you, Ginger, but as I get older, my criteria for any relationship that I have, you begin to make a list of the things that you really are looking for or
yeah,
not looking for, whether it's a partner or whether it's a friend group or whether it's a job. I mean, I
yeah,
think it's really important to make that list and not just take the first thing that comes, um, because, it might not be the greatest thing.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I, y- uh, Other things you can do. I mean, Emily blew me away when she said she scheduled an appointment with a midwife in a practice and didn't tell him she was looking for the
I
job.
love that story. I love that story. It's like
Just
if you really want to get into the inner sanctum of the
there
practice,
you
that
go.
is a great way to do
There you
it.
go.
See how
Being
they treat
involved,
you.
I know. Being involved in the affiliate, they're just, talk to the doulas, childbirth educators. There's lots of ways to try to sort of
Get the flavor.
get the flavor of it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
because
it's also the best way to network and find the jobs too. I mean,
yeah,
that's of
absolutely.
course if you have a job offer, but it also is the way that you get known to other people. So,
So let's just use this as kind of a template, but there
okay.
probably will be more things we talk about. Um, let's say we're interested in this job,
All right.
and one of my thoughts is, man, if somebody gives you an offer, go through the process, even if you know you're not going to take it, because you learn a lot
You do.
and you can
Well, you can
practice.
compare. Yeah,
You can
you're
practice.
practicing like just taking a microscope or a magnifying glass, which I usually need anyway because I'm getting older. But you take that magnifying glass and you start looking through this one, and then you begin, even if you're like, oh no, no, you get an idea. You can make a comparison chart with the
Yeah,
next one. Oh, what did they not offer? Oh, this one's offering this. And you begin to see gaps of what is out there, what is not, and then how varying they can be.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of tell people if they have several options to create that, Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and you have your columns
yeah.
and you sit and really compare things that each one will talk about or not talk about. And that sets the stage for really what to go back for to
Right.
inquire. Are you offering this?
Yeah,
Or how much are you? Not are you, maybe not a yes or no answer, but how much are you offering
yeah,
for? You
yeah.
know,
Well, one of the things that's sort of been going around on some of the listservs I pay attention to is what kind of questions should I ask uh,
Mm.
in an interview process? And I think, look, if you've been given an offer, you're already past the interview process. Now you're at the negotiation table. What kind of questions might be strategic for you to gain more knowledge? And we talk about this a lot. Do you have a couple? And I'll throw out a couple.
I think, I think one, I mean, I always go toward numbers, but I think one thing that's really important is finding out kind of on the line of how many people are in the practice and what the
Yeah.
ratio is, but how long have people been there?
Yeah.
Like, what is the longevity? Like, are people staying at a job because they want to be there because they are treated well? So, what
Yeah.
is the retention rate? Or are people flipping jobs frequently because it's not a good place to be? So, I think it's a question that is often forgotten
Hmm.
or isn't asked. And I think asking that in an interview is, it will provide a lot of
Yeah.
insight into what else is going on.
Absolutely. One that one that I think is important is to ask about compensation beyond the base salary.
Okay.
And I'm
Yes.
pausing a little bit because sometimes they'll offer you that, but not describe it very carefully or very
Sure.
clearly. And other times it's just a base salary, you're at will, and you have this offer letter, and they're not going to give you a contract. But I think it's really important, especially people get all excited about, oh my gosh, I have a 3 year term or I have a 5 year term. That means I have job security. I'm like, time out. That might mean that's your salary for 3 or 5 years.
Right.
Is to ask the question, just like physician providers establish their panel of patients over time. I see my contract term or is at will or it's, for 3 years. How willing is the practice to consider adjusting my salary after we have more information about my productivity? Can you
Right.
tell me about that?
That's a really good point right there. It's not only it's also like you're gaining experience, you're gaining more patience, but also if you're stuck on a 3-year salary, you don't even have any promise of any cost of living increase,
Right.
let
That's right.
alone all that you bring over the years to the
Right.
practice. Word of mouth, more skills that you
Yeah.
develop, more revenue generating skills, procedures that you might be doing. And
Yeah.
so you're, kind of sticking with the initial salary is really cutting yourself short.
Yeah. I think a lot of people assume that cost of living is a given because if they come from a nursing profession, that is typically what you get if they're
Yes.
giving it, but not in these relationships.
And or they often assume that you'll get a performance evaluation raise, which
Yeah.
is not guaranteed, and it's the first thing
Right.
to go out the window
Right.
when there's any type of budget cuts. You
Yeah.
might still get the cost of living, maybe not, can't
Yeah.
guarantee it, but that well, we couldn't give it this year. How many times does that
Yeah.
hurt? So not only is it not can't be expected, but it's the first to go typically.
So let me
Oh,
take you back to this random job offer I saw today. It's out there,
right,
guys, if you want a job.
right,
This is a 1.0 FTE, and this is their definition: 4 days in the office and one, we don't know how long that night
night
call
shift,
is during the week.
right.
We won't even add on the 1 in 4 call yet, but you could. Like, let's talk about definitions of FTE.
Hmm. I mean, it's not banker's hours, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a mistake. Let me just say here, HR often just has this idea when midwives go to ask questions. They're just under the assumption a lot of times that the midwife they're working 40 hours a week. That 40 hours is a 1.0 FTE. Um,
Do
and
you
that
think that's because of the APP workforce different than midwives?
I mean, I think that is generally what the world believes. I mean, the
Okay.
US world believes, but
Okay,
then
I know what you're saying.
yeah, so I think that's a common thing that people believe. But of course, adding in or comparing to the APP workforce, the world, they do typically have a 40-hour work week. That's it. No
Yeah, they do.
nights, no weekends, no call, no backup call. none of the other things. So immediately, yes, there is a vast difference. So if they did have that idea, yes, that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
So I mean, we've
even
seen Ginger, like, oh my gosh, we've seen that a 1.0 FTE could be the 40-hour work week,
could be
could be
36.
could be a 32 or
It
a
could be a 32.
36. Oh, why am I getting tripped up there? Patient facing hours will be
Right.
32 with 8 hours of admin time, kind of accommodating for that time that you're not spending with the patient, but you're doing work for the,
Right.
organization. Or it could be, in this case, 60 hours, or it could be way more than that.
Yeah, you added in all the meetings.
Or it could be undefined where you have a situation where it's written that you will evenly divide call
Yeah.
with the number of providers. And they don't necessarily say how many providers there are. So it could be
Right.
3 people, it could be five, or it could be based on the month, whether people are on vacation,
Right.
out
Right.
on sick, out on extended leave for any reason. So, you go from dividing it with 5 people to three, and nobody takes into consideration that all of a sudden your work hours have
Yeah.
incrementally increased
And
with
your
potentially,
contract happens to say you will work as needed
right, right,
to meet the patient needs. Yeah. So
right,
you're kind of trapped.
right.
Um,
It's exhausting. Just that one part of these contracts or job offers that takes a long time to even to tease out sometimes. It's just
yeah.
mind blowing. And like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's really one of the things that people don't take into consideration when they look at the salary and they compare
Oh,
what that would come out hourly. It's astounding, and I can't
exactly.
tell you the gasps that people,
Yeah.
that they express when you say, well, let's look at this hourly, and then you have, well, I make more as a nurse, or
That's exactly why I did the math on this one at 38.46 an hour.
right.
The
Mhm.
BLS for a midwife is 63.26.
So the
And the
Bureau of
Bureau,
Labor
yeah,
Statistics is what she's
and
referring to.
yeah, and the BLS for an RN, this is just data from today, is $45 an hour. So this
So
is, you know,
yeah. And so this is well below even the RN salary.
so maybe a strategy here, always want to give solutions, is a
Yeah.
couple questions. One of them, one of the softer ones when you're negotiating might be, I looked on the BLS website and the average salary for an RN is $45 an hour. When I calculate the amount of hours I think I'm being asked to work over a month, and the average is 60 hours a week, with the salary you're offering me, that's barely over $38 an hour. Can you help me understand that? Is my math correct?
Right. That is a very nice way to ask it. You don't want to be defensive. You don't want to
Right,
be aggressive. You don't want to sound, I guess, ungrateful.
right.
But just, I call this intellectual curiosity. Like, can
Yeah,
you help me understand why is such a great way to ask many of these questions, Ginger.
yeah. Because people are, first of all, unfamiliar with the art of negotiating. There's an automatic power differential that we put ourselves in, like we're not good enough to defend our salary, or we want the job so bad we don't want them to rescind the offer. But something we say over and over again, and in these 9 years, two people have had their offers rescinded that I am aware of, and they were asking for way out of the ballpark
Right.
of, or just not even willing to negotiate what I would say is a fair process. You have to give on both sides, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. That does make both sides happy, is when there's, a win-win on both
Yeah,
sides. And also that sometimes means one side gives, right?
yeah. And I think fit in the world of research, they're looking for a good fit as much as you are looking for a good fit. And if they have, I can't tell you how many people will say to us, oh my gosh, the recruiter couldn't believe how much research I did, and that
Right.
I asked really great questions. And that is bringing a level of professionalism to the conversation.
It really does. It really does. It's true. Like they don't, I think a lot of recruiters they don't always have the answers too. So you're teaching them while you're asking them questions. And
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Oh,
Other thoughts about this offer, Denise? Let's
well, I mean, we could dissect it every single part. Like how deep do you want to go? So we talked a lot about really considering what hours you're working, whether those
hmm
work for you, how much
hmm
you're compensated for those hours, how much you're not compensated or you're
Right.
doing that is not included in this formula at all, which is often forgotten.
Let's
Um, Concepts of,
let's talk about the line that says CME reimbursement.
oh,
And
sure.
there's no discussion about anything about licensing or any of that kind of stuff. You know where I'm
Right,
going.
right, right. And you know, okay, first of all, that line in and of itself doesn't give you information. It
No, it
doesn't tell
doesn't.
you how much, but if you're like, oh, they're going to reimburse me for CME, are
Exactly.
they going to reimburse me for the cost, or are they going to also reimburse me for time to do the CMEs? And
Right.
then what happens, Ginger, we see a lot, which is so bizarre to me, is what is actually included under this umbrella of CME, which
Yep.
is not has nothing to do with CME reimbursement.
Exactly.
And there's where
Exactly.
I think what you're alluding to is what about all the fees that it takes to be a professional in your organization to work for
Yes.
you? So
Yes.
professional licensure, credentialing, certification, like your annual recertification,
Yep.
your DEA number, your
Yep.
license, your, relicensure, a couple
Yep.
years later. And am I missing anything?
Sometimes there's credentialing fees for medical staff and the payer plans.
Oh, sure. Right. So there's a lot of things that they often will lump under this category, which has nothing to do with CME.
Ah, Denise,
What?
hypothetically, I'm going to give you $3,000 for your CME.
Wow. Okay, so if I'm paying my licensure and DEA out of that, I've just crossed over $1,000 for that year alone. So I'm left with $2,000. And if anybody knows how much conferences cost and travel and transportation, I'm going to be paying a lot of it out of pocket
Yeah.
for me to go. Um, so Ginger, if you were the one offering me this job, Ginger, how many days of CME are you offering along with this?
3.
3. And this is a full-time position?
Yes.
Um, okay. Well, I want to ask perhaps why it's okay. So we generally like to see like 5 days,
Yeah.
a full week. And it takes time to get there. It takes time to do the conference. It takes
Oh, but
time to get
Denise,
back.
it's part of the PTO days.
Oh,
And you get
now,
18, you get 18.
okay, you get 18 days of PTO,
Yeah.
paid time off, which is usually, doesn't that cover like sick,
Yeah.
vacation?
Exactly.
Well, mental health days, but
Yeah.
who talks about those, right? And does that also cover my holidays
Everything.
that I have that I might be working anyway?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, you get the idea, audience here, that these do not necessarily describe what we might expect from other places that you come from, and maybe you came from places that didn't offer this, so this looks really great.
Right.
But it's not a bad idea to compare that to other places of employment. What is the national average for some of these?
Yeah, we've
So,
seen some surveys, Denise, for advanced practice providers. We don't make this stuff up, although we
right.
do kind of know the average. We know. I mean, do you want to share it or do you want me to?
Just start sharing it.
Yeah, I mean, we on average it's 5 CME days
Correct.
in addition to PTO.
Right, right.
And the average CME for CME is 2,500 and the employer pays for all those other things Denise listed
Separately. They
separately.
should not be part of that. So basically you give them your receipts, and they will pay them dollar for dollar what they
Yeah.
cost so that you're not having to really tally up an amount and take it out of, other banks that they might have for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I would say, we've even seen, much higher CMEs, reimbursement. I've seen as much as like 7,000. That's not very common, but in general, 2,500 is what we do see.
Yeah. Um,
And I'll just say one thing, it shouldn't necessarily be prorated based on your FTE, like if you're zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.8, you still require all these things to do the job. So like you don't get a prorated DEA license, you don't get a prorated license fee. So it really should not be prorated for your FTE if you're zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.8.
that is such a great point, Denise, because it typically is.
Yeah.
It typically
It
is.
can be, yeah. I think the CME days is maybe the only thing you might negotiate that you get a week's worth.
Yeah.
So if you work a point 0.6 and that comes out to be 24 hours, if you're lucky at your job, that at 24 hours to 40, then
Yeah.
you get 3 days or whatever.
Yeah. Um,
So where are we at now, Ginger? What else do we want to take a look at here?
yeah, there's one area I don't want to take a deep dive into because I think our next topic we're gonna invite Isaac Booth on to talk about contracts
Okay,
and some of the
perfect.
pitfalls of contracts.
Okay.
So, meaning sort of the restrictive clauses,
Oh, sure.
more the
Yes, the
restrictive
legalese.
clauses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
things that you want to sort of worry about.
The things you have
Um,
no idea when you're in like midwifery school what these things even mean. So
exactly.
perfect.
What do you expect out of a benefits plan? Because sometimes we see these contracts that say, we're going to give you benefits like the other staff, but they may not necessarily be as elevated as the physician benefits package. Any
Oh,
thoughts
that's
about
a good
that?
one. Well, I mean, I would say this benefits package is very, very variable among different types of practices, and
Yep.
it will depend on often the size of the practice, whether you're private practice or academic practice, but then
Yeah.
also, sure, the different tiers that go to the providers in the practice. Again, it depends on who owns it, right?
Yep.
So if a physician owns it, they might make sure that their physician colleagues have a higher tier of benefits. But I mean, certainly the basics we would expect of health insurance, vision, dental,
Yep.
and then it starts to get a little bit interesting when it comes to, life insurance, and then oh, um,
Matching or
yes, thank you.
disability and matching.
Retirement
Yeah.
and disability and all of those, yes.
Yeah.
So,
So you got to really look at them.
right. And then it's not a bad idea to really inquire about what your simple things like what your copay is expected. So if you're
Right.
thinking that you're going to get some type of health insurance, you have to really look because they're not always created equal. And so are
Yeah.
you paying majority or are they paying majority? So how much is it worth? Again, when you're thinking about your job and your life and whether you need have other people that you need to cover benefits for, maybe this isn't going to even come near to what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe, oh, Ginger, here's another part. Maybe you do have a partner that's covering benefits, so you can use this benefit portion as a negotiating factor to say, I don't need benefits. Will you pay me a
Yeah.
stipend instead for what you're not paying for my benefits?
Yeah.
You know?
Or could they put it in an HSA?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So,
All right, here's another one. You're going to see, I think it was 18 to 20 patients per day.
oh, okay. Yes, I mean that depending on yeah, that again, are you working at the place that you want to be at? Are you spending enough time with the patients that you are seeing? Is that across the board template that they've somewhat created for the time that you're seeing patients and how much, revenue you're expected to generate? Do you have any say, any
Yeah.
autonomy even about how those are scheduled?
It
I
says it's
recently,
about a 50-50%. I mean, they do
right.
say that. They do say that. And, do you think a new grad could handle that?
I if they're coming in, I think that seeing a lot of GYN could be a bit of a challenge. So
Yeah,
I
I would
can't
agree.
speak to the individual, capabilities of anyone, but 50-50 is pretty heavy on,
And they're giving them 5 weeks of orientation in the office.
five. Okay. Um,
I left that part out.
you didn't talk about the 5 weeks of orientation.
No, I
And
didn't.
so are we talking about like awareness of the medical record system they have? And is there presence in the office of someone that can answer questions on the spot? Do they have any other, means to connect with a mentor?
Yeah,
Things that you often really don't think about when you're starting a new job, especially if you're a new graduate or especially if you're coming up against even medical record systems that you've never used before, the
right.
frustrations that you have of of all of those things that are built into a day when you're seeing 18 to 20 patients can be so thoroughly exhausting. The other thing that isn't really talked about here, Ginger, but on a real life basis, who's answering the phone calls, who's
Mm,
following up on the lab work,
yeah,
um, when is that done, and how is that built into your workday if you're seeing
yeah,
18 to 20 patients? Is that something you're expected to come in early for,
yeah,
stay late for? Of course, use your lunch hour because, that's impossible to have a lunch hour if you're seeing that many patients and doing
yeah,
any type of good quality care. So,
yeah.
well, I'm just really speaking off of real life experience here now.
Hey, but as we know, with the workforce shortage and the demand for patients to be seen in a timely fashion, it's getting harder.
Access to care, yeah.
Maybe one of the questions could be, do I get a scribe?
Sure. Well, there's a scribe component, and now there's this whole,
AI.
AI.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's right.
I just haven't gotten comfortable with that idea yet. But yeah, I mean, those are ideas that are really beneficial to some people. I haven't tried that yet. I kind of use more of a lot of smart phrases, but you just have to make sure that you're
Yeah.
making sure they're accurate.
Yeah.
Arden talks about that for billing, just
That
make
well,
sure
that
that you're
was that was one of the things I was going to say to you is, you're seeing 18 to 20 patients a day. If we just kind of think back on some of the presentations we've done, I think I pointed this out at the Chicago talk we did, Denise, that MGMA came out in 2020 or 2022 with an estimate of profit margin. By the
Mm,
time your provider, your APP, sees 5 patients in one day, it was 4.8 something. They're already at the profit side, right?
right,
So if you're
right.
seeing 18 to 20 a day, um,
Well, that's about 400% then, right?
yeah, well, even if we sort of took out the OBs and the global fee right now, they're still making a profit. So the question would be, how does a midwife know? Um,
Right.
how do you sort of start on day one or the interview process and go, I know a little bit about revenue generation. I learned a little bit in school, or I've watched some YouTube webinars, or whatever you want to say. How is my contribution to this practice evaluated related to revenue generation?
I mean, I think that's something people really just don't think about.
Right,
They really, really don't think
right.
about that.
You
And
better believe the docs do.
I mean, right. I see that all the time where there are different, this goes back to the bonus or, incentive plans or
Yeah,
compensation beyond your basic
yeah,
pay. Like, we don't like, I would say as nurse midwives, I would say there's such a thought of you go to work, you do your time, you get paid, and you don't think about the fact that you have incredible value as revenue generators. So how do you get this information? Or, I think it's worth asking. And we know that there is a way for you legally to have that information,
yeah,
for things, build under your NPI. But aside
yeah,
from that, it's like, how can you use that to then come back
yeah.
to, increase your value?
So Arden talks about that in her podcast. They can go listen to, but also the idea of asking the midwives that you're interviewing with,
Yeah,
how do you, we've talked about this too. How do you convey the story of what you all do? Who
right.
gets who gets to hear about the value of the midwife service, and what frequency rate do you share all that information?
Now,
Or
Ginger, do you think that's a good, is that above and beyond like an interview question?
I think it's probably way before the offer.
Okay.
I do think it's an interview question, but it does directly tie into how you use that answer for leverage.
Right.
And we're all about trying to figure out leverage in the middle of a negotiation.
Right.
Uh, is you want to gain as much information as you possibly can to see.
That one is, I think, probably a question that would surprise most people when you're
Yeah,
interviewing with them. Because
yeah,
I don't think, again, it goes back to, I don't think a lot of, if you're interviewing with your peers that you're going to be working with, I think there's a large knowledge gap for the
yep.
most part with that bit of information.
And I think that's one of the things we're trying to promote every single day.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Every single day.
Bring it.
You know,
Yeah.
let's start learning these things so that you can share that story as many times and ways as you possibly can. Um, One thing about this particular offer, I will say, without disclosing the state, is it is in one of the highest malpractice zones, premium zones in the nation.
So cost. Hmm.
Oh, yeah. And so this idea, and of course, we will bring Isaac on about talking about professional malpractice insurance as well. But the question here, that the fact that they say they're going to pay professional malpractice is absolutely meaningless.
Right. Right. We know that. Right. And be cautious when you hear that to
Because it
believe
sounds great.
it sounds, oh, great, they're paying it. Great. I
Right.
have nothing
No
to worry about.
questions. No
I have no
questions.
questions and I don't have to worry. I walk in, they pay my malpractice, I leave, and everything is great.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
unsaid, the unspoken here,
Yeah.
and often completely conflicting and confusing within contracts itself sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So are we going to hold off on just talking about that? Because
I think I think we will on
it's its
malpractice.
own topic. It's really its own
Yeah,
topic.
it
Okay.
is.
But just be aware.
Yeah.
It's a definitely
So
a
so
topic.
if somebody figures out what this job offer is and they go, "Oh my God, I know what they were talking about," and we've said, "Go forward, man. Do the interview. Not do the interview. Do the negotiation. Right? You got the offer." Um, some strategies to approach negotiation. We talk about this in our
Mm.
coaching post
Mhm.
contract, right? So,
Mhm.
Denise, how could we help them get prepared to go negotiate this offer?
Well, first of all, well, we've already basically gone over, be aware of what's in the contract. Okay.
Right.
Be aware of what's in the contract. Be aware of who you're going to work for. Be aware of what your own wants and needs are before you,
Yep.
um, so that you can really compare them to what they're offering you verbally, what they're offering written in the contract, and to know whether this is even worth it. And again, it's still worth talking and negotiating just to learn and practice the skills. Um, then there's a lot of different things. Like you want to make a list of what you have to leverage
Right.
going into a job. Like who are you? What's your experience? Do you have special skills that are revenue generating? Do you have languages that are helpful with the population you're taking care of? Do you have cultural concordance with the population you're taking care of? Um, do you know the community?
Hmm.
Have you been there a long time? Do you plan on being there a long time? Do you have some longevity that in loyalty that you
Yep.
would commit to a practice, which is really very important. Um, like so many things that I'm not going to even remember, but doing a deep dive into your own, skill set and what you bring to a practice, the value that you bring is really important to start out with. You always want to start out with that story when you go back.
Yeah.
Remind them of your story when you're going
Absolutely.
back to negotiate. You have create a little storyboard, if you will. And it's
Absolutely.
and the one of the most important things is that you're doing it where they see your face.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I think it was like Chris, who's the negotiator, who says like
Chris
93%,
Boss.
yeah, 93% of negotiation like strength comes from tone of voice, um, like expression, body.
Yep.
body comportment, like how you hold yourself and
Yep.
seeing your face and hearing everything that you are.
Yes.
Like the rest is nonverbal. Um, that, I mean, that's really that those things are very important. So, I think that starts it out. Those are important things to consider. Do you have other things you want to add? I have so many I want to
Yeah.
add, but
Yeah. I would add, once you've made your list and you've got your storyboard ready, go role play with somebody.
yes,
Practice it over and over and over, and practice both roles. Let somebody
it's a
else
new
use the
language,
storyboard.
right?
It is.
It's a
You
new
don't want to be all
language,
blotchy, with red
right?
blotches going down your neck and being afraid. This is a business interaction. It's
Yeah.
not an emotional conversation.
It's theater right now. Like if you've
Yeah.
ever done theater or drama, you're learning the lines, you're learning the language, and you're presenting it as confidently as you're able to, and that only happens with a lot of practice.
Yep.
And really honestly, like we've mentioned, you're gonna have to describe a lot of things or educate the people that you're negotiating with. A lot of times you have no idea what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
you do because
Yep.
you've learned it, and they will learn it from you.
We've also
Makes you look
talked,
smart
Denise.
too.
We also talk about making a long list. Why is
Yes.
that?
Yes. Well, not everything in a negotiation, like a win-win is when they give you some, but they don't give you everything
Yep.
that you're asking for. So you ask for more than what you want on all the parts. You prioritize what's most important to you. So your list starts out with the most important things, but we often save kind of salary things to the end, even if that's the most important. Like people are pretty skeevy, sketchy
Yeah.
about money
Yep.
and numbers. And sometimes if you start talking about money first, they forget about everything else that you're
That's
asking
right.
for.
That's right.
So you kind of want to prioritize things first that you're very interested in more than what you want so that they can counter with something a little less, and that's going to be still more than what you need, you know.
Yeah.
And so you just make a list. And we use a lot of the terms of verify, clarify, and modify.
Yep.
A lot of times in the contracts, you're reading something and it doesn't make sense to you, or you don't know why it's there. There might be some history about why it was put in based off of maybe past employees or whatever. So you often want to verify or even just simply clarify, like clarify what is a 1.0 FTE mean?
Exactly.
And then the big one is always, it's what, Ginger? What's our third one?
Modify. Modify.
Modify.
And you can modify it not by the whole body of the contract, but just add an appendix or add an exhibit that says XYZ.
Refer to Appendix A or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we saw a contract this week that it went through letter J of exhibits and
Oh,
appendices. And I'm like, this is just,
it's exhausting.
sorry, it's just
Yeah.
bullshit. It
Well,
was
they do
as,
pack in a lot sometimes.
it was intended to be confusing
Hmm.
and wear you out.
Yeah.
It
Before
was
you even
ridiculous.
start working for them.
It
So,
was
like,
just
what kind of
ridiculous.
place is that? They're wearing you out before
I
you even
know.
start.
I
Okay,
know.
maybe not. That's the one where you're seeing 25 patients a day.
Yeah, there you go.
How
Well,
tenacious can you be?
we have sort of just touched the surface on things that you
Mm.
can find. We've got a lot of webinars on this information you can find on YouTube. Um, we give this lecture to a lot of graduate midwifery education programs. I think we're up to, I don't know, 12, 13 now that we sort of give this talk to. Denise and I do,
Annually, right?
yeah, Denise and
Yeah.
I do a lot of coaching, whether it's with or without a contract, but mostly we want you to be informed. So, Denise, we're there. Do you want to do the call
Yes.
to action first, or do you want me to?
I mean, I think I'll do my call to action. I've been having you do it, so I'll take it on. I really just really, I really want you to find the job that
Mhm.
you love so that it doesn't seem like work. You love it so much
Mm,
that it doesn't seem like work, but more importantly, that you are valued, you are paid well, and that it sets you up for staying there for a long time. We need midwives. We need
yes.
midwives to stay in their jobs for a long time, and we need to, just ask everybody to do what you can to to really ask to be valued, the whole profession, individually and
Yeah.
then as a whole. And so my call to action is just don't settle if you can. Don't settle if you can. Find your value, ask for it.
Yeah, I like that, Denise. I think
What
I'm
do you
going
have,
to,
Ginger?
yeah, I think I'm going to add slow down. Like
Mm,
take a pause. We
yes, that's a
know
good
we know you're in a hurry. We know you may have student debt. We know somebody needs to start bringing money in, and we know you're excited to start the job, a job. But to be rushed, which a lot of recruiters try to do, like
Yeah.
sign in 2 days or sign in a week, is a detriment to your ability to just think about the offer. If you can, have somebody else review it, whether
Hmm.
that's an attorney or whether that's a family friend. Another set of eyes on the offer may see things you don't see. And it takes time to think about what we've been sharing. What are your wants and needs? What is the long list of things you're going to ask for? And have you practiced? And to do that takes a couple weeks. And to
Right.
think that that is too long to give an answer, compare that to physicians who often take 4 months.
Hmm. That's a
I
really
think we're
good point.
forgetting the pause. We're forgetting that if you've been offered a job, I want you, Denise. I offered you the job. You should be respected to take the time to seriously think about the job and not be in such a rush to think it will evaporate before you give an
Yeah.
answer.
It is
So
a
that's mine.
bit of a red flag if you get pushed in a
Yes,
corner and you have to make a
absolutely.
quick decision. The question is why?
Yeah. One of
Why,
the
where's the angst here?
You can see my age in this example, but I still use it a lot. There used to be a lot of door to door salespeople. I was going to say
Mm,
salesman, sell you a vacuum, sell you pots and pans, sell you knives, and
bucks.
buy today or gone tomorrow. Well, I'll be
Mhm.
damned if the pots and pans are gone tomorrow, but they want your money today. That
Mm,
is a pressure tactic, and it is used on advanced practice providers all the time.
right, right.
So,
That is
okay.
really good points, Ginger.
Well, I have invited a new attorney who did an amazing job co-presenting with me, Denise, to a residency program in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
The two of us had, I don't know, about 30 residents in front of us for a couple hours, and he kind of blew their minds. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a young person, a lot younger than you and I,
Hey,
um,
hey.
come on and talk about contract clauses that are restrictive or could
Yes.
be in some way not to your advantage. So Isaac Booth is going to be on with us on our next podcast as a guest, and
Fantastic.
that'll be fun. In fact,
And
I think you were at his birth, Denise.
I was at his birth. And in fact, Ginger, a little extra piece of information. That was the day that I applied for midwifery schools.
Yes, it was.
But that's a whole other story. So,
We'll have to figure
no.
out how to embarrass him a little bit.
Oh, we can do that. We can
We
do
can
that.
do that.
Yeah, we'll see him turn red. I've seen him do it before. So,
All
but
right.
I hope he doesn't hear this because then he might not want to come on.
He usually doesn't listen, even though he's our producer.
Very good. Well, I think we have all still a lot to learn, and I hope this information was helpful.
Yeah, it was great.
If nothing else, thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a great evening, Denise.
All right. Take care, Ginger.
Bye bye.